Hello everyone, welcome to PassionWaterTarot. Alrighty, so it's Sunday, Missing Person Sunday, to bring enlightenment, to hopefully bring information, comfort to families, friends, soul tribe regarding their loved ones who have virtually vanished, loved ones they can't locate. So first reading today, before we get started, please take a moment and go right down there, hit that subscribe button, then hit the all word so you receive notifications when future readings are uploaded and available. And let's talk about the difference in some readings, okay? I really want to do it to this. I think I'll reach more people this way, but I may go ahead and do it during the generalized readings as well. So there's a difference between a reading for intention regarding a specific person, a specific energy, and a generalized reading. Okay? Because when I'm doing your weekly readings, the generalized readings, the Spirit is bringing me energies from all over. From those who are going to be watching the reading, whether they're that zodiac sign or they're cross watchers, and sometimes of energies that are involved in the reading. And so it's kind of like a mesh. Certain parts may be very specific for you. And then again, that reading may have nothing to do with you, because it just wasn't meant for you. So you can't take every generalized reading as that it is specific for you. If you'd like a private reading, I do those as well. Whether it's for love, romance, career, education, any kind of a personal reading, you can send me an email at PassionWaterTarot@gmail.com and I'll be happy to respond to you. Now, if you want a missing person or criminal case reading, there's no charge for those. Personal readings, yes, I do charge for those, but not for these missing person readings. These are a gift from Spirit. They always have been. They always will be. No matter how many emails I get telling me I'm not being professional by not charging for them. Really? Well, Spirit told me concerning my gift that I'm to provide it as a gift to those who are traumatized in dramatic situations and those who are in need. And therefore I will continue to do them free, at no expense for anybody regarding a missing person or a criminal case reading. Is that enough? Can I climb off that pedestal now? And you understand the difference between intentional readings like this one today versus the generalized readings. The generalized readings are really good and they really hit home. But not every single message in there is intended for every single person, because Spirit is trying to reach many, many energies at that time. So let's talk about this 3-year-old missing out of San Antonio. That's our first one today. Second one is a request. So, Lina, Sardar, Khil. I hope I'm pronouncing that very last name correct. Khil. Khil. Or Hill. I don't know which one of those letters is supposed to be silent. But anyways, the FBI. Let's go to the FBI website here. There we go. They say she is about 4 foot tall. That seems awful tall for a 3-year-old. 4 foot? I would think closer to 3 foot myself. I'm hoping this is a typo. And they're saying she's about 55 pounds. Okay. She doesn't look that thick on the video that was just released yesterday. But so be it. Who am I? She may be a very solid child, all muscle. And we all know muscle weighs more than fat. So of course she's a female. She has brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen the afternoon December 20th, 2021 at the playground at an apartment complex called Villa del Cabo, located in the vicinity of the 9400 block of Fredericksburg Road in San Antonio, Texas. She was last seen wearing a black jacket, a red dress, and black shoes. And she has shoulder-length hair. She's a cutie patootie. I love that smile of hers. It's absolutely gorgeous. And those eyes are just so beautiful. But there's been 2 stories. We're going to address them both. Right whenever she first went missing, I believe it was an interpreter problem because the dialect, her parents are immigrants from Afghanistan, and their dialect is not a very common one. So I believe that the person who was doing the translating initially didn't actually speak their dialect. So what was said at that point, what was reported at that point, was that the mother saw the little girl go down a pathway. And then all of a sudden she couldn't see her no more and she couldn't find her no more. But since then, the only story reported, the only story now that we have a translator who speaks the dialect. And it's not that the other translator was trying to cause drama. They were interpreting the best they could under the circumstances. I don't believe that person was trying to cause any problem. They just did not understand the dialect. So, the situation now is very clear that the mom left the 3-year-old at the park, this little playground inside the apartment complex, and she went back to her apartment. Now, rumors, and that's what they are, they're rumors. Neighbors' statements. Who are these neighbors? I don't know. Is it Karens or is it truly good intentioned people that say that this immigrant population is known for leaving the children unsupervised at the park and throughout other parts of the apartment complex? That it's pretty much cultural for them. I have a hard time with that. Now I'm going to tell you why. That's why I'm asking. I don't know if these are Karens coming forward or if this is actually the truth and well-meaning, well-intentioned neighbors. Because one thing, I used to live in San Antonio and I was a hospice nurse during that time, so I was in and out of apartment complexes, assisted living, different types of facilities and homes, private homes. I lived in an apartment at the time, surrounded by, a variety of people. And never did I witness children alone, unsupervised. No matter what country their parents or grandparents originated in. This is a community that is extremely protective of their children. Children aren't even allowed to be told no a lot of times. They certainly, they approach discipline differently. That it's by example more than by punishment. So I have so many questions. I'm going to answer a lot of questions about this case because I'd like to know what's going on. And also, I grew up in Dallas. I'm an old woman now. And I just moved to Oklahoma 2 years ago. So, and I had just moved back from San Antonio a couple years before that. And Dallas and Mesquite, you didn't see children just roaming around by themselves, unsupervised all the time. It just was not like that. Most people realize it's not 1970 anymore. And even then it wasn't safe. But anyways, what happened? Where is she? Nobody knows. The police have set up what I call housekeeping at the apartment complex ever since the day she went missing. Now, it did take the parents about an hour and a half, 2 hours to report it to police. I understand they called a friend or family member for advice. And I probably would too. Not knowing the language well, not knowing the procedures well, I probably would have wanted to call somebody and say, what do we need to do? Who do we contact first? I can't find my baby. And that person told them to call San Antonio PD. And they did. And San Antonio came out, took the report, started the search, locked down the apartment complex. And that apartment complex has been on lockdown ever since. You cannot drive in or out of that apartment without somebody searching your vehicle pretty much and want to know who you are. And they are listening. They're taking names and numbers. Now the FBI is involved. They're going door to door and they're asking people, are you willing to give a DNA sample? That's right. They're already bringing it up. Because she's been gone for 6 days. Do we want this case to be just like that beautiful little girl in Australia? Yes, we do. We want to bring her home safe and sound and know that she was not harmed during her captivity. But San Antonio PD and the FBI are looking at the worst case scenario, preparing for it. The parents are beside themselves, according to family members. They're not eating, they're not sleeping. They're probably going to fall out before too long. Because you can't keep going at that rate. Just terrified and worried for their little girl. So what could have happened? Okay? So maybe the first translator was correct. And maybe the first story was correct. Maybe she did wander off down a path and they lose track of her. Well, where did she go after that? This is the city. Yeah, there's some wooded areas over there. Sure are. There's also deer, geese, and, if you startle a deer, you could get kicked and get hurt. And geese will attack. Some people love geese. Me, not so much. But I have been held captive in my car trying to get away from these geese in San Antonio while trying to go see a hospice patient. Go ahead and laugh at that. Go ahead. It was not near as funny as it sounds, because it was terrifying. And every time I try to get out, the geese would start squawking and calling more geese over there to try to attack me. I ended up having to leave and get my husband to come and help protect me from the geese so I could get in the house. But anyway, what could have happened? Could she have wandered off? Okay. The woods are not that dense. They are thick, but not to the point that she wouldn't have heard cars. She would have heard cars. She would have heard sounds that lead her towards a populated area. Now, it was starting to get dark, but that would have been even better, because there would have been flashes of headlights. And mind you, I used to live right down the road from here. Yeah, I lived right down the road from where this took place. There's a freeway not far away. She would have heard sounds of people. So did she wander away and did somebody pick her up that didn't have good intentions? Yeah. Unfortunately, that could have happened. Could somebody have lured her away from the playground? A child? An adult? Male? Female? A stranger? Somebody she knew? Was she ever really at the park at that time? They have video of the entrance to the apartments from the auto shop across the street. Yay. I could give them a shout out, huh? Let's see if I can find the name for the auto shop. What's the name of it? Come on. Seems like it begins with a B. Belden's Automotive is across the street. Yay, Belden's. That's great. Their cameras, and they handed those cameras over. They handed the footage over immediately. So what happened to her? There was no reports of hearing her screaming, yelling for help. There's no signs of a struggle. The San Antonio Police Department nor the FBI have found any signs of an abduction at this point. But y'all remember Cleo. They were hard at finding signs of abduction too. But if you go back to my reading about Cleo Smith, the spirit told us from the get-go that she had been abducted and that she was with a man and that he was not harming her. And it kept mentioning a female, but that was a female in the abductor's mind. Their twisted way of thinking. So sometimes signs of abduction is hard to locate. And when there is not a witness, it makes it that much harder. So let's get busy and ask Holy Spirit, Spirit Guide, angels, and ancestors to come into this reading with love and light, to provide the highest level of clarity to those receiving messages, and ask the chakras be cleared to allow those messages to be received with ease. I want to start this reading off with either a quoted meditation or an affirmation for all those invested, whether you're friends, family, soul tribe, investigators, detectives, searchers. Because one thing I haven't mentioned is about the search parties. They even brought in the trainees for San Antonio PD. Yeah, they bust them all over to the apartment complex to do the search. And they brought in dogs. Immediately, they cannot track her scent away from that playground. Which makes you wonder, if you can't get her scent away from that playground, but we have seen video of her at the playground, but was she allowed there only occasionally, so her scent isn't real strong there compared to some of the other children and the other adults? That went down well. But dogs are really good, and they're trained really well, and they can't track her. They've taken them off into those woods, and they can't track little Lina. So, your affirmation for this reading: I will hold myself to a standard of grace, not perfection. Emily Lay. Wow. I will hold myself to a standard of grace. I will give grace. I will receive grace. I understand that people make mistakes. Not everyone is perfect, and not everybody deserves to be crucified because of a mistake that they made. It may have been perfectly fine in another setting. The synopsis for this reading is coffee cup. Meeting and conversing, savoring the moment, feeling uplifted, friendship. So there needs to be some more sit-down time. There needs to be some more interviews. This case will have a revelation through an interview, through an interrogation type setting. So let's see what's going on. This is like a story right off the bat. So, Spirit, what happened with Lina? The Queen of Wands. Somebody who, wow. Somebody very vain. Somebody very, what's the word I'm looking for here, Spirit? They feel as though they need to be honored, put up on a pedestal, treated a certain way. Three of Swords in reverse. Sorry, Four of Swords in reverse. Reacted to a mental break, a mental they got angry, they got upset, they were not balanced. It was a moment of where love and compassion was basically left at the curb. They were feeling very happy with themselves, that they had accomplished something, that this was due them, that they had every right to this response that they've had. The Fool in reverse. Now they're not going to tell it. Now they're not going to speak up. They're not going to give themselves away. They're doing everything they can to protect themselves, to keep their world, to say they like the way things are now. No, I have a lot of questions out of Spirit, because I don't know if this is a person that took Lina or the person that could have hurt Lina. But they're very happy with their results, and they want their world to remain like it is, either with her in it or without her in it. Queen of Swords in reverse. Wow. They just have to keep covering up what they did. Now, the Queen of Swords, that can be a man. I do feel like that's a man protecting this female. I do feel like there's two people involved. There's no remorse. Feels very justified. That the person feels like it's rather justified. That they were betrayed. That they were disrespected. That there was no returning from what happened. So they overpowered Lina to say, I'm the boss. So the strength card Leo. I'm the boss. It's my way or the highway. And that's the way it's always going to be. The infinity symbol is there to say that's the way it's always going to be. I'm the one in charge. You're going to do what I say. The Hierophant. As if this was dictated. That, remember that word. Dictated by somebody else. That this needed to occur. That this was out of control. And yeah, this person's not talking now. They don't want to talk. They're using every excuse in the book not to talk, not to come forward for interviews, so that their facial expressions are not read. Ace of Wands, so that their pride in themselves, it's like this was an honor killing due to disrespect, and that it was dictated by an older person in the family or an older person in the soul tribe, the friends, church, but it got out of control. It was so much further than what a 3-year-old could endure. it completely destabilized the situation and stopped the heart from beating. So I got a note, Spirit. Is Lina still alive? We have a story. Okay. Six of Cups in reverse. So it's not anybody that is really close to Lina. It's not somebody who was in her immediate family who made this judgment, who declared that this needed to occur. It's about the old school ways, it's about the old ways. The Seven of Pentacles, Five of Cups in reverse. It's just a child, go forward. That's the message I'm receiving. That this child can be replaced. Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Yeah, it wasn't a son. It was a girl. It wasn't a son. It wasn't anybody who was going to take care of the parents when they were old and gray. Wheel of Fortune in reverse. And it really upset things. Because you can't do this. You can't have somebody in the community. I don't believe it's in the church deciding that there is a level of punishment for a child to endure. It has to do with the old ways, the level of respect. Now, I do have another question. How was Lina harmed? Y'all hear the dirt bike outside or the four? Yeah, I hear it too. The devil in reverse. The Knight of Swords in the upright. Something to do with her sexuality. Oh, there's only three. Okay. So, I don't see her being raped. I see her having a procedure, but not on a clinical level. Home procedure about being a female. But she was only 3. And this was to keep her balance, to protect the honor of the family. And something went very wrong. You know the procedure, and you know I'm trying not to say it because I'll probably get hit by YouTube with a demerit. So if you know what I'm talking about, put it in the comments below. But it looks like this procedure went very wrong. That something was something happened. Whether it's that she went into shock. She was only 3. Oh my gosh. I mean, I know they do this to children who are a little older to protect their honor, to protect the honor of the family. It's illegal here in the United States, which is why they do it undercover, those people who practice this. And it also keeps men from molesting these little girls when they're younger because of this procedure. So, that's that spirit. How can we bring Lina home? Where is Lina? How can we find information to bring Lina home? The Knight of Pentacles, somebody in a car, somebody traveling, somebody on the go. The Nine of Wands in reverse. Somebody who thinks that the eyes are no longer on them. Somebody who wasn't being watched. Somebody you least expect. A doctor, a nurse. Clarify the Knight of Pentacles and the Nine of Wands in reverse, Spirit, please. Who is this person? This is the person that took Lina away from the apartment, or away from where she was harmed at. Yeah, there were several people there and they were involved, and some of them were soulmates. There are people involved that actually loved Lina and wanted the best for her. They did not expect this to happen. So, Spirit, did this happen at Lina's apartment or at another location? Ace of Swords in reverse. King of Wands in reverse. Well, it's not a doctor. I'll tell you that. Ace of Swords in reverse. Somebody who does not feel like they owe anybody the truth of the situation. Somebody who has a underground operation going on. King of Wands. They feel as though they were not called to this, that they did not choose this road, that they were called to this, that this is a calling for them in the community. So, I suggest law enforcement. The family knows who it is. Family knows. Law enforcement, it's time to bring down the hammer of justice. This person has inserted themselves into this investigation. They are not giving you information, but they're trying to pump you at all times for information. If you have a translator that is not city, police department, FBI employed, you might want to look a little harder at that person because they don't think you're looking at them. Okay? I'm going to say it again. If you have a translator that is not city, FBI, or some other missing person situation employed on this investigation. You need to look at them a little bit harder. You need to look at them a little bit stronger. You need to sit down and have another conversation with them. They're going to explain to you how they did not choose this path. They're called to it, to be that role in this community. Yes, they feel that they're called to it like a shaman to this community. So what's the most likely outcome of this reading? The Four of Cups in reverse. Seeing what's right in front of you. Because the person who has all the answers is right in front of you. There's several of them. There's 4 people that know everything that occurred. 4 people. And that is clarified by the Knight of Wands. One of them is an in and out energy. Somebody who really wasn't intended to be a part of this, but ended up being involved unwillingly. So 3 people that know and are very active in the situation, and 1 more who ended up involved in this that did not start out to be. Can you tell us where Lina is, Spirit? Where can we locate Lina at this time? Thank you, Spirit, Spirit Guide, angels, and ancestors. The Chariot, the Ace of Wands, look at that baby there, and the 3 of Swords in reverse. You're going to need to offer somebody immunity in this case. They're ready to speak up. They want to start the healing process. They want to be able to bury this child. They want to give this child back to the soil, so to speak. And they're ready. It does look like she's in a wooded area, but I do not believe that it is by the woods and the apartment. I believe it's behind the shopping center. I see a shopping center around her. And let's see what clarifiers we get for the Chariot, the Ace of Wands, and the 3 of Swords in reverse. This person, it really feels like it's the mother is ready to start healing. She don't want to talk to the press. She's scared. She's scared of ramifications of what might happen to her from other people in her community and her family. King of Swords in reverse, the one who's trying to hold back the truth, the one who understands that people can go to jail, the one who's trying to cover things up. That's who Mom fears. Mom knows what happened to her baby, and she wants to tell it. So please get her along with a translator, with a female that she can bond with. So let's see what the most likely card advice from Spirit for this reading is. I can't express to you enough that you need to get Mom with a translator she can bond with. This is in reverse. Discovering the truth. Yeah, because right now you haven't discovered it. Right now you're only hearing what they want you to hear. You haven't found the truth. You're going to have to keep digging. Now, I still have one more question before we finish. Did this happen at the apartment, or did this happen at a different location? Was Lina hurt at her home or in a different location? It was supposed to have been for healing. It was supposed to have been for a good thing. It was supposed to have been for her protection. She went there to have a procedure. Four of Pentacles. Because that was, they convinced her it was the right thing to do. It would, well, she was only 3 years old. I'm sure they do this to children that young. Certainly up to, just before puberty hits, they do it. But to provide protection or honor. And it went wrong. It went really wrong. The Hermit in reverse. Somebody wasn't paying attention. They didn't look what they were doing, and they certainly weren't paying attention to her vital signs and what was going on with her as she went into shock. And that's what I see, her going into shock, and which led to her demise. And she was not alone. Nope, she wasn't. When this happened, no. She was taken there by family, by friends, by soul tribe. There's more than one person. There's 4. 3 who had every intention of this procedure, and 1 person that ended up involved because they were called on. They didn't want to be involved, but once it started, they were terrified not to be. But you haven't discovered the truth yet. This is what, for those who are invested, whether you're soul tribe, family, friends, investigators, detectives, FBI, you haven't got them to tell you the truth yet. What were their intentions that day? That's why the dog can't track her at the park. She wasn't at the park that day. If she was, she wasn't there earlier. And they're asking for people to come forward. Anybody who had any interaction or saw Lina and her family that day to come forward. They need to talk to everybody. Did you see them up at 7-Eleven? Did you see them down at HEB? Where were they? Were they in the parking lot? Were they in their apartment? Where were they? What were they talking about? Who was with them? Did Lina act like her normal happy self, or was she kind of scared, uncertain of what was happening? So much, but they need those who have direct information to come forward with that information, to let them know what you saw, what you didn't see. Check your car camera. Did you see them walking up and down the street that day? Did you see them at a bus stop? Where did you see them at? What were they talking about? Okay, that's what we're going to call it quits for this one. If we need to come back and review this case again, we will. It's really hard to do these readings because I do always ask, is the person alive? And 99% of the time, I get an answer. And I get information about their demise or what has happened to them, where they're located. And it's hard because you don't know who's going to hear the reading. So whenever you make comments, take that into consideration. This could be the mom, the dad, the aunt, the uncle, the next door neighbor listening to this reading one day, 10 years from now. And so if this is a 3-year-old girl right now, let's say 15 years from now, the next door neighbor is 18 years old, and she remembers that little girl that went missing that December day in 2021. And she looks up her name and she sees the reading. So be kind, be gentle, be understanding that this is a mystical led reading from Spirit to keep her name out there, to help bring her home, to encourage anyone with information to step forward and call the San Antonio Police Department or the FBI. Speaking of which, hold on. There we go. San Antonio PD 210-207-7660. I'm going to say again, 210-207-7660. Or you can call your local FBI office or the nearest American embassy or consulate. It's very important that we get as much information regarding Lina, where she was at on Monday, who she was with, as possible, so that she can be brought home, preferably safe. Her mother wants her home, even though her mother can't speak up right this very minute out of fear. Her mother wants her home, because what happened was not something the mother had any real control over. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll let you all have a beautiful Sunday evening, and I'll see y'all soon with your next reading. Namaste.